The pull of BRICS is quietly shaking Europe's foundations, sending ripples through the continent's political and economic landscape. What once seemed unthinkable, a shift away from the established Western order, is now a topic of serious debate in parliaments and boardrooms alike. This new reality is prompting nations to reconsider alliances that have lasted for generations, questioning whether old partnerships still serve their evolving interests in a rapidly changing world. In capitals from Brussels to Belgrade, leaders are openly questioning whether the Western Bloc, once the bedrock of European security and prosperity, still offers the best path forward. The conversations are no longer whispered. They're broadcast on national television and debated in public forums. European countries, once firmly anchored to the EU and NATO, are now eyeing BRICS as a real alternative. The allure of new partnerships and diversified alliances is growing stronger, especially as global power dynamics shift. BRICS offers a model based on sovereignty, mutual respect, and economic development, without the political strings attached to Western aid. For many European policymakers, this approach promises greater autonomy and the chance to shape their own destinies. For many, this isn't just about economics. It's a response to growing disillusionment with the slow, rigid structures of the West. Frustration with bureaucracy, austerity, and a sense of stagnation is fueling the search for alternatives that can deliver real change. The unipolar world order is fading, replaced by a multipolar reality where BRICS is building new institutions for finance and trade. These emerging frameworks are challenging the dominance of traditional Western-led organizations and offering fresh opportunities for collaboration. As Europe's unity fractures, national pragmatism is overtaking old ideological loyalties. Countries are increasingly prioritizing their own interests, seeking flexible partnerships that better reflect their unique needs and aspirations. The continent's pivot to BRICS signals a world in flux, where new possibilities are rapidly taking shape. Europe stands at a crossroads, facing choices that will define its future in a global order that is being rewritten before our eyes. BRICS began as an investment acronym: Brazil, Russia, India, and China, coined by economists in the early 2000s to describe the world's fastest-growing emerging markets. At first, it was simply a way to group these countries together for their economic potential. But over time, the idea took on a life of its own. What started as a financial label soon evolved into a powerful geopolitical force as these nations recognized their shared interests and growing influence on the world stage. By 2009, these countries formalized their alliance, holding their first official summit and establishing a platform for cooperation. South Africa joined in 2010, expanding the group's reach to the African continent and making BRICS a truly global coalition. BRICS's mission is to create a more equitable, multipolar world order, one that challenges the dominance of Western-led institutions like the IMF and World Bank, and advocates for fairer representation for developing nations. Unlike the weighted voting systems of the West, BRICS makes decisions by consensus, ensuring that each member, regardless of size or economic power, has an equal voice in shaping the group's direction. In recent years, BRICS has expanded even further. New members like Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, UAE, and Indonesia have joined, transforming BRICS into a coalition that now represents over half the world's population and a significant share of global GDP. With this expansion, the bloc wields major influence in global energy and commodity markets, shaping trade flows and resource policies that affect the entire world. BRICS also offers partner country status, inviting dozens more nations to participate in its vision and collaborate on shared goals, further broadening its global reach. While it's not anti-Western by design, BRICS is firmly pro-multipolarity, appealing to countries that feel left behind or marginalized by the old order, and offering them a seat at the table. The group's agenda, focused on development, national sovereignty, and reducing reliance on a single dominant currency, resonates far beyond the global South, inspiring hope for a more balanced world economy. This is what makes BRICS so compelling to a growing number of European states, who are now exploring closer ties with the bloc and considering new forms of cooperation for the future. Europe's interest in BRICS is fueled by frustration with the EU and NATO. For many, EU membership has become a never-ending process, bogged down by bureaucracy and demands that erode national sovereignty. BRICS, by contrast, offers pragmatic cooperation, investment and trade, without political lectures or reforms. NATO's pressure for unified foreign policy and increased military spending has also caused friction. Countries like Turkey seek strategic autonomy, finding BRICS' respect for independent policy attractive. The shift is pragmatic. As economic power moves east, BRICS is building real alternatives. For nations feeling stagnant or marginalized, engaging with BRICS is becoming a strategic necessity. The question is no longer if, but how soon they'll make the pivot. Some European nations are already moving from interest to action. Serbia, frustrated by stalled EU talks, sees BRICS as a faster route to investment and growth. Turkey, a NATO member, is openly exploring BRICS membership to assert its autonomy and diversify partnerships. A BRICS-aligned Turkey would challenge NATO's unity and reshape regional security. Belarus, isolated by Western sanctions, has embraced BRICS as an economic lifeline and a way to bypass Western pressure. These countries are setting a precedent, showing Europe that it's possible to look beyond traditional alliances. Their example is inspiring others to consider a pragmatic, interest-driven foreign policy in a multipolar world. The New Development Bank, NDB, is BRICS' answer to the World Bank and IMF. With $100 billion in capital, the NDB funds infrastructure and development, without the political strings of Western lenders. Its loans focus on economic viability, not political reform, and approval is fast, often within 6 months. The NDB's emphasis on local currency lending reduces dependence on the dollar and euro, offering borrowers more stability. For countries like Serbia and Turkey, this means greater financial autonomy and faster access to funds. The NDB is more than a bank, it's a strategic tool for economic independence. Its success is a key reason BRICS is so attractive to nations seeking alternatives to the Western financial order. BRICS' most ambitious goal is de-dollarization, reducing global reliance on the US dollar. For decades, the dollar's dominance has given Washington immense power, including the ability to impose crippling sanctions. BRICS is building a parallel system, promoting national currencies in trade, issuing loans in local money, and creating alternatives to SWIFT. China and Brazil now trade in yuan and riel. India buys Russian oil in rupees. The NDB and the contingent reserve arrangement provide financial safety nets outside Western control. Alternative payment systems are being linked to bypass Western sanctions entirely. For countries under US pressure, this is a path to economic sovereignty. Each local currency transaction chips away at the dollar's dominance. While the dollar remains strong, the trend toward a multipolar financial world is accelerating. If successful, BRICS' de-dollarization could fundamentally rebalance global power. The boldest BRICS idea: a common currency, sometimes called the R5. The vision: a reserve currency backed by commodities, offering a stable alternative to the dollar and euro. Such a currency would simplify trade and symbolize a new economic order. But the challenges are huge. Economic diversity, political rivalries, and the need for deep coordination. A physical currency is unlikely soon, but a digital unit for cross-border settlements is plausible. Central bank digital currencies could provide the backbone for the system. Even a digital settlement mechanism would mark a major step in chipping away at dollar dominance. Europe's turn toward BRICS signals a seismic shift in the global order. This move is not just symbolic, it represents a fundamental rethinking of alliances and priorities that have shaped the continent for decades. As European nations explore new partnerships, the world is witnessing the birth of a new era in international relations. The era of uncontested Western supremacy is over. Multipolarity is the new reality. Power is now distributed among several influential players, each with their own interests and visions for the future. This shift is creating a more complex and unpredictable global landscape, where influence is constantly negotiated. BRICS expansion into Europe exposes cracks in EU and NATO unity, challenging old strategies and alliances. The traditional bonds that once held Western institutions together are being tested as new economic and political opportunities emerge. If BRICS's pragmatic deals outshine the EU's slow processes, Europe risks losing influence at home. The ability to adapt quickly and form flexible partnerships is becoming a key advantage in this new environment, putting pressure on established institutions to reform. The world may split into competing blocs, one led by the US and G7, the other by China and BRICS+. This division could reshape global trade, security, and diplomacy, forcing countries to reconsider their allegiances and strategies. Nations will have to balance between these spheres, making foreign policy more transactional. Instead of relying on long-standing alliances, countries may increasingly pursue their own interests, negotiating deals on a case-by-case basis. The rules-based order is giving way to a contested, regionalized landscape. International norms are being challenged, and new rules are being written by emerging powers who want a greater say in shaping the future. BRICS's rise is a wake-up call. The demand for a more balanced, inclusive global system can't be ignored. Calls for reform are growing louder as more nations seek a fairer share of global influence and resources. The West's challenge is to adapt, not contain, as emerging powers, including some in Europe, demand a seat at the table. Navigating this new order will require flexibility, openness, and a willingness to embrace change as the world moves toward a more pluralistic future.